was like a smooth start, but like an hour ago, I wanted to test it and accidentally went live then too. But so it's actually great because there's now like somewhere in the archives of the internet just like a 15-second video of me going because that's my face when I interact with technology. That being said, let me actually bring up my script and give a formal start to the show. Yay, yay, yay! Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Laughing into the Void. I'm your host, Tom, and as always, co-hosting with me is the lovely Rosalind Paris.
Hi.
Woo!
Woo!
Hi. You can watch our previous broadcasts on the District Comedy YouTube and Facebook channels or listen to them on Spotify. If you like us and want to support the stream, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you want to watch on district-comedy.live, which should be appearing on my screen, we have donations enabled right now for the 2020 end-of-year fundraising campaign for Cinetic Theater until the end of the month. So if you want to see the little bar at the bottom of my screen fill up or just want to help support the arts, consider making a donation of any size. But enough of that. Today, we are interviewing comedian Chris Aileo. He is based in Philadelphia. He is a junior studying film and television at Drexel University. Additionally, he produces his own comedy sketches and writes for the satire and humor sections of both his university and for freelance publications. And he also has his own mic called Funny People Telling Jokes. You can catch him on these and on Instagram at Chris_Aileo. Did I get all that right?
That is perfect, Tom. You nailed it.
Yay!
Yay! Good job, Tom.
Cool. Awesome. And show. Yeah. Okay, so I'll start us off with this question that I like to ask. I guess I think I've asked everyone who's been on the show so far as like one of the first few questions, but how would you describe your sense of humor to someone who isn't familiar with your work?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me very much. This is awesome, and I very appreciate it. This is very cool. I mean, I guess generally speaking, just like day to day, what like the things I laugh at, just like I like stupid stuff that's like so dumb. Like I think I kind of have that like I'm Gen Z, so I kind of have that like broken Gen Z sense of humor where like somebody will show me like a photo of like a hot dog underwater and I'll like start cracking up for no reason. But I think like in terms of stand up, I like I mean, I don't know, it depends. Like for me, what I find funny and the stuff I like to talk about, like I like storytelling and just like story stuff. Like I like crazy things that happen to people. Like anytime I just hear a funny story, I just get so like jazzed. And I don't know. I mean, for me, it's definitely stories and just like crazy things. And I like people talking about things that's happened to them that are like weird and insane. And that's kind of like what I try to do, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you say that because at least I've been noticing a trend in stand-up that isn't necessarily conducive to storytelling, at least in like traditional formats. And there are storyteller comedians, but I've just been seeing so much stuff lately as far as like, and I think Desiree may have mentioned it previously, but there's an attitude of like, how many jokes can you fit in per second? So it's nice to hear somebody who still appreciates telling a good story.
Yeah. I mean, like, I mean, you know, there's a place for both of it, but I feel like a lot of stand-up comedians, or like in the open mics I see, it's a lot of just like punchline, like, you know, a knock knock who's there kind of joke. I don't know. Like I think that like obviously like you need to have punchlines for it to be funny, but I like long. Anytime I see a comedian, like a real like professional comedian, do like a 5 minute story, I'm like, whoa, that's so cool that someone can talk about one thing for 5 minutes. Like that's so cool to me. So.
Would you say, I guess, not necessarily reflecting on your own comedic style, but maybe a little bit, but do you put like either watching or when you're writing, storytelling first or jokes first?
I think I take storytelling first. Like I mean, I'll have like thoughts throughout the day where I'm like, oh, that's like a funny take maybe, and then like I'll write like a joke that's like an observation maybe. But like when I sit down to write, I try to like I have a big list of like things that have happened to me that like I want to talk about, or like stories, and so I'll like pick one. I'm like, okay, like this thing really jumps out at me. I think this is like a funny story, and I think it could be relatable. And so then I'll like write the story, and then I'll try to put the punchlines in, or like I'll try to like think of like an observation like within the story. But I think I generally start with the story first, just because like I'm like the kind of, when I think about like jokes, I'm like, I don't know if I could say anything that's like a general take that would be like unique. Like I feel like if I'm gonna like be interesting, like it has to be about myself, or else like that's the only way I feel like I'll be able to be original, is if it's just like only about me. So
Yeah, like talking from your own experience.
yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily sound like, or maybe there is, and you can correct me, but like going into a set and like going into it with the attitude of like, I'm going to tell this story, and I'm going to tell this comedic story to get people to listen to this like deliberate point that I'm trying to make, or like this deliberate message.
I think that's what I want. Like that's what I want to do for sure. I don't know if I've ever done that, or like I'm capable of doing that yet, but like I think, because like I want people to like, care about what I'm like. Obviously, I can't just like talk about some story, and I try to have the stories have some relatable or like universal element to it, so that people aren't like, why is he telling? I don't care. Like, why is he talking about this? Like anytime a comedian, like Mike Birbiglia is like one of my favorite comedians, and his stories like always have like some sort of like message to it, or like something where you can like pull out of it. You're like, yeah, I get that. Like I know what he's saying. So I want to be able to do that, and I don't know if I've done that before, but that's definitely a direction I want to head in.
Cool. Sorry, I started like cracking up a little bit, only because I think that the stuff you're saying is like really cool and really serious, but then like I had a memory pop into my brain of like when you were doing your like Kanye Zest bit with the drawing of the lemon, and it's like,
yeah, I do.
Yeah, I want to make a point. I want to tell a story. Kanye Zest.
Go back and forth, because sometimes I'm like, I want to like say things. I got things to say. I want to connect with people. And other times I'll draw like Kanye West as a lemon, and I'll be like, this is Kanye Zest. So I don't know. Maybe it'll full of crap.
Just comes and goes with the mood sometimes.
Yeah,
I find like the story format helps me remember my jokes. Like I'm definitely not the type of person that can go up there and deliver one-liner after one-liner. I have to have a story stringing it together. So I remember, oh, it's time to make this joke. It's time to make this joke. But for some people, like I dated a guy who only did one-liners because he had ADD. And so he couldn't remember like a full story or focus on it if he was doing stand-up. So it was like, I know all my jokes, I can memorize all my jokes, and then I'll just deliver one-liner after one-liner. And it worked for him. So.
I feel like the opposite. I feel like if I have a long story, then that's like the one joke. I'm like, okay, I only have to worry about this one. If I have like 15 one-liners, I'm like, there's no way I'm remembering like the fourth one.
Yeah.
You save yourself having to remember segues, though. Just
that's
one after the other. Yeah. Which I feel like could like add a little bit of comedy to it, like subverting expectations. You thought I was gonna keep talking about that joke? Nope.
On to the next one.
On to the next one. Okay, so why don't you tell us then a little bit about your background? Tell us how long you've been doing comedy for, what got you into comedy. We found out just before we started airing that apparently you're doing a comedy-related internship.
Yeah, yes. Okay, yeah. So I guess I'll just like briefly touch on where I'm from. So I am from the suburbs of Philadelphia, like 35 minutes north in Bucks County. And it's a nice, safe, comfy area, a great place to grow up. And I went to Catholic grade school, all boys Catholic high school. And now I go to school in Philadelphia. I go to Drexel, which is just west of downtown. Like it's a city school. It's in West Philly. And it's kind of weird how I got into comedy. Like it's weird to say I'm in comedy. Like I haven't been doing it long, but I kind of like stumbled my way into it. Like I don't even kind of know how I got here. Like, you know, when I was applying to colleges, I wasn't really allowed to apply like far. Like I really wanted to apply to USC. I wanted to go to California. My parents were like, no, you're not going to California. You want to take a plane every time you want to go home. So I really largely only applied to Philly area schools. And I applied to like 3 schools that were like within my academic range. And I applied to like a couple that were good schools, and I didn't get into those. And so then I got all my I didn't even apply to that many schools. I wanted to apply to, or I didn't apply to NYU, and I wish I did. I don't know why I didn't. And so I got like 3 acceptance letters, and I hated I didn't even want to go to 2 of them. So like Drexel, like it was this like process of elimination. Like, I guess I'm going to school here. All right. And I started my freshman year studying entrepreneurship. It was like a business program because I thought it was cool. I was just like, this is neat. I'll do this. And there were elements of it I liked, but it wasn't for me, and I wasn't happy in it. And a buddy of mine who was in that program too, we were both like, this sucks. So we both changed our major to film. That's when I'm a junior now, and my sophomore year I started in film. Still, well, hold on, I gotta go back. The end of my freshman year, right when it was like the last semester of my freshman year. I was like, okay, I'm not happy in entrepreneurship. I don't know what I want to do. I like, being funny to my friends, and I like, writing sketches. And my university offers a stand-up class as like a fine arts elective. Like my school has like gen eds, and you have to have like 1 or 2 like fine arts electives, and the stand-up class would satisfy that requirement. And I was just like having to register for courses for the final semester of my freshman year, and I just like saw it. And before that point, like I had never, like I love stand-up. I watched it all the time. Love late night stuff, but I never considered like doing stand-up. Never crossed my mind. Didn't really think it was something I would want to do. It just like was not something I thought about. And then I saw it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I looked up like what the course was, and the way the class worked. It was just like every week you have to have 5 new minutes, and that's literally it.
Ugh.
That's it. There's no.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, there was no lecturing. Like we didn't learn how to do it. It was really just more like you get to do stand up and not like learning how to do it. And then the final, the final exam was you put together your best 5 minutes, and you do it in front of like a ton of people. And I was like, I don't know why. I was like, just do it. Just like sign up for the class. So I did, knowing that like 3 months from now, I'm going to have to like do stand up in front of a lot of people. And so I took a class, and I was like, the whole class was like upperclassmen. And it was like, I was like the only freshman. It was so scary. And like the first week, like it was like fine. Like it went fine. I got a couple laughs. And I was like, okay, like maybe this could be fine. Next week sucked. Generally, like the class, I had one really good week where like I did really well, and I was like riding an incredible high. And then, but when I was taking that class, like stand-up was the only thing I was thinking about. Like I didn't care about any of my classes. I was like, this is so cool. I would spend all week writing my jokes for the next week. It was like really just like a good thing for me. I loved it. And then when the final rolled around, I put together my best 5 minutes, and we did it. It was in front of like 150 people. And mostly students, and I guess maybe some family, but I didn't invite my family. I don't think my family knew I was doing it. They like barely know I do stand up.
Well, now they'll know.
Yeah. They're really a floor above me.
Yeah.
But
no, that's interesting though. But tell us about the one that didn't go so well. Tell us about when you bombed.
Yeah. I don't like, it was weird. I just like, I was sweaty, like sweating. I don't get like as nervous as I still get nervous, and I still like sweat, but like it was just like uncomfortable. Like I was like very like, oh, this sucks. It was in front of like 9 students in a quiet classroom in like a basement. and like there was like
Those basement shows.
yeah, there was like a fluorescent light, and you could just hear like the hum of the light. It was really painful. But like it was good because like, I was like fine. Like it happened, and then the students still talked to me after, and like I was like, okay, that wasn't so bad. It was a safe environment too. Like it was very supportive. Like everybody wanted everyone to do well, and it was a great spot to like do stand up for the first time, because it wasn't like I was going into the city in a bar and like really
Well,
being
yeah, and it
comfortable.
sounds like since it was part of a class, then
Yeah.
hopefully the audience had some kind of idea going into it. Okay, these are students. These aren't like professional comics, or it's like, oh yeah, I've seen him around the
Yeah.
campus sort of thing, which helps take kind of the pressure off a little bit. But remind me, so how long ago was the stand-up class?
So this was June 2019.
So recent. So
Yeah, well,
like a little over a year now
yeah.
since
So
that class. That's like when you're saying like you started comedy though, right?
yeah, so it's kind of okay. So like I have trouble telling people when I started comedy, because well, that was June 2019. But just to like wrap up on the class, so like I bombed that one time during class, but the final performance was like it went like all the students did really well. Yeah, it was in front of like it was in like one of the school auditoriums, and it was like 150 people, and I did like 6.5 minutes, and like it was everybody like who went like wanted to laugh, and it was a good environment, and like all my jokes landed, and there was a lot of people there, so it like was like loud, and it like I was so nervous before, like it was like the scariest thing I've ever done, but like all my jokes landed, and I was like, oh whoa, like I need to keep doing this. And so like that like next day or like that next week I was like, all right, I'm changing my major, I'm studying film now. I'm a comedian, baby.
Okay. I was
um,
about to say, because I wasn't sure which one kind of came first in that, like if you had already decided to switch your majors, because like if you had been doing the film and production already, it seems like, not that surprising of a twist, since they're both kind of in entertainment, to then be
yeah,
like, okay, stand-up might be something I'm interested in.
I can't remember what I think, and this might be wrong, but I don't know who's to say, so I guess this is the truth now. I was thinking about it, switching my major, and then I did the stand up, and like obviously like they're not directly related, but I did that final, and it went really well, and I was like, okay, I think I should, film and TV is like related, and that kind of like pushed me to make the change. So that's what did it, I think.
Cool. All right. Awesome.
That was such a long story to say like 3 things.
Hey, I said background and we got it. We got background.
Yeah, it was
so
thorough.
Thank you. Thorough. No. Here we go. That's a literature joke. Inappropriate place. But no, and it seems like also you're kind of like and correct me if I'm wrong, but heavier on the writing side of it. So I'm very interested about like the people in stand-up who are of that mindset, because I'm the type of person who got into stand-up because it was something that like was basically from my background as a performer. And I find that there's a lot of people like that who are in stand-up either because, they're writing, and then stand-up is like a way for them to write their own material without having to collaborate with people on dumb sketches. And then there's like people who are like from performance, and it's like, well, I can't get cast, so I guess I'll perform in this very independent medium.
Yeah.
So it seems like since you write for a couple of different publications, like I mentioned in your intro, the university, a couple of freelance articles, it sounds like you may be of the writing mentality. So
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for like those processes, what would you say are maybe some differences between like your process when you're writing stand-up versus when you're writing one of those satirical articles?
Yeah, so like definitely, well, to your point about like you have a background in like theater, and so the performance is like what you like I never had done anything like I've never done theater. I didn't do theater in high school. I never did like debate or forensics or anything like that. So like I'm not like a performer like by any means. So it was definitely like the writing element that I liked of it. But I guess to answer that question, like I don't really know. Like, I like my school newspaper I write for, and like the comics section, like there's like 4 of us. We just kind of do whatever. And like I'm friends with the person who runs it, so like I kind of have free reign to kind of do whatever I want.
I was
Um,
looking at your website and I loved the Toyota-thon poem that you wrote.
yeah, those poems about car deals. Yeah, like that's like the stupid. I think like when I'm writing for my school paper, my goal is like, what's the weirdest thing I can get printed and distributed around my college campus? Um, and like for that, I just like think of like a dumb idea because like we get like a whole page like in the physical paper, and I've made some just like weird stuff, and then like people and like some maybe like 20 only people in like the West Philly community maybe read it. But like my goal is that like some guy on his way to work like opens up the Drexel Triangle and he's like, what the hell is this? Like, what am I looking at right now? But I don't know. In terms of like the satire articles, like I think that's something I want to do more. I've like written like a couple and like gotten them into some like freelance like publications. That sounds
Yeah, I saw like your university paper and then a website. I think it was called like Robot Butt.
yeah. So like there's like a bunch of like websites like that with like varying degrees of like popularity.
So Onion, Hard Times style stuff, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the Holy Grail, like the New Yorker has like Shouts and Murmurs, and that's like their satire section. I don't know. I think that's like it's fun to write that kind of stuff. I don't really know how I approach it. I guess it is similar, maybe in stand up, where like I guess like the point of a satire article is to like like take a stance or like say something in like a funny way. So I don't know. I guess I try to think of like something that like I feel. I'm trying to think of something that I wrote. Oh, I wrote like an article that was like a university emailing their students, and this was like when school was coming back, and there was like the email was like, oh, like there's a zombie apocalypse, and like there are some zombies on campus, but like we're gonna let you come back. Like the whole point was like coronavirus, and it's not safe to go back. So I guess
Okay, so it sounds like that was maybe like a better example of like I guess your comedy writing where you're going
way better than
with that like deliberate point that we were talking about before.
Yeah. That satire is cool, and when it's like people who do it really well, like satire articles, like I read some like, wow, that's like really impressive. Like they can say like really like meaningful stuff in like really silly ways, and it's cool. Like that's a skill I want to get better at. And I would love to like submit something in the New Yorker and get it in. Yeah, I'm in the New Yorker.
Just once, and then you can say it. But then, okay, I guess then maybe is there anything that you find either as an especially good opportunity or maybe as an additional challenge when you are going from writing for the printed word, which is like still an audience, but not a live audience like stand-up is? Like, do you feel like you can get away with more? Or do you feel like you have to be extra careful because, without the live audience being there, there's always that danger of like, I think it's clearly satirical and funny, but will they read my tone, or will somebody think I'm being serious and that there's zombies on campus?
I think you have to be more clear with like your words when you're writing an article or writing a script even for someone to read, because like when I say things with my words, you can like make it clear like what you mean by like the way you say it and how you're standing and everything like that. So I think like you have to be very clear when you're writing an article. But I think you have a little bit more like wiggle room in terms of like what's funny and what's not when you write like a funny article. Because like if I read a funny article, like I could like read something, well, that was funny, but like it didn't like make me laugh out loud. Like you don't need to like make someone like viscerally like laugh when you write an article. So you can still like write like amusing stuff that's not like laugh out loud. Like there's stuff I'll write for stand up or like, yeah, that's funny, but like it's not really a punchline. Like people aren't gonna laugh. So I don't know. I feel like you have to be a little bit more like deliberate in that regard when you write stand up, or when I write stand up, I guess.
You also kind of like have more tools when you're doing stand up because you can like play with like inflections and expressions and stuff. And when you're writing something just for somebody to sit there and read, you have to be very, very careful about how you craft it so the meaning of what you want is coming across. Because you can't just like change an inflection to get your point across. You have to make it very like, you have to basically hand feed the reader a little bit, I think.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, that's what I like about, like, I don't know, I'm just better at speaking, I feel like, than I am at writing things. And like when I write, like when I have to like write like a paper for like a class or like an academic paper, like I get like anxious having to figure out like how to make a sentence like literary, like make sense English wise. Like where do I put this comma? Like it, like I don't know. I think there's like a very like rigid limitation. Like when you're writing like an article, like it grammatically has to like make sense. But like when you do stand up, you can kind of like cut out and go here and like, you know, kind of have it be silly, and you can be less like, it doesn't need to be grammatically correct when you do stand up. And that's like a lot more freeing, I feel like, than when you're writing something.
Yeah.
No.
Although that is kind of an element that's been taken out of stand-up recently, is that's one of the main critiques we've been hearing about the Zoom mics, is that it's not the same because you're not in front of a live audience. You don't have like the physical comedy, yada, yada, yada. But it sounds like that's maybe an advantage that you have since you have the writing background.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Like you can't do a lot of physical comedy when you're on Zoom stand-up. But I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's not like I'd be like jumping around and like doing like high kicks anyways. Like when I do
we have two different kinds of comedy then, my good sir.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of comedy everyone else is doing. Like, you know, I'm mostly stationary when I do stand up. So, you know, as long as like I like to stand when I do Zoom stand up, or I started doing that, and you know, I make sure they can see my face, and I have like waist up, so if I want to do body stuff, I can do it. And you know, I think people pay attention less on Zoom stand up, so I think it's harder in general to get your point across. But I haven't done live stand up really a lot in general, but I haven't done live stand up since Zoom stand up, so I don't know how it translates, but I feel like it will. People have told me it does. So
the last time I saw live stand up before the pandemic, a crazy man came off the street and had several beers, and his entire set was him just humping a stool stage for like his entire 5 minutes.
Damn this pandemic, we can't have stool humpers anymore.
That guy's having the worst time on Zoom mics these days. But you know, maybe OnlyFans is paying off for it.
That's so funny.
Oh my god. I feel like it probably didn't feel funny in the moment. I don't know. Maybe did it kill?
Pretty funny.
Oh, okay. It's like that might make a lot of people uncomfortable though.
There's something Zoom like lets you do that you couldn't do otherwise though too. Like I was playing, I don't know if I want to keep doing it. You know, we talked about it. Like I like doing some drawings, like jokes with drawings, or like little charts or visual aids. Like that's something that's harder to do in person that I can do over Zoom. So, you know, I mean, like, you know, each version gives and takes, and like you just kind of have to like do what you can. I don't know, you just got to adapt. It sucks, but like you just do what you can, you know.
Yeah, and like you know, there's a lot of stuff you lose because it's not a live performance, like I guess physical comedy, if that's a thing, and just like generally being able to connect with people in that way. But for the other side of it, you know, I've had a lot of people come to the mic who are doing like this last week we had somebody who like screen shared their vision board. So you wouldn't necessarily see that at like a live stand-up. It's kind of like prop comedy, but easier because it's digital.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of like, I know, some people are like, oh, that's not really stand-up. You know, it's like alt comedy, like performance already, like cool stuff. Like there's a comedy venue in Philly that you know, has like a screen up, and like people would do like funny PowerPoint presentations. Like, you know, it's borderline like not really stand up, but it's still like a funny live performance. It's like cool, you know?
Yeah. I've wanted to do like, actually for district comedy at one point, I'd love to do like a PowerPoint party.
That's so
fun. Yeah.
That was a thing that got really popular when the lockdowns happened. Like, oh, silver lining though. Let's do a PowerPoint party where we talk about.
That's really cool. That's a great idea.
Ranking my exes in order. But then I'll ask you this question and then I'll throw it to Roz. Although I'm gonna go on a tangent in a second, but
should I bring the questions up then?
Yeah, you should probably bring the questions up.
I'm a bad co-host.
No, you're fine. But actually, since we kind of diverted attention to you anyway, Roz, when we were talking, it did kind of make me wonder, because we've been doing comedy together for so long. I think I just don't remember if you are one of the people who is of a more performer-based background or of a more writer-based background. So let me get that from you while you're also trying to coordinate bringing up the questions to make things as easy as possible.
This question's for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you see, yeah. So, like, I got involved in comedy through improv. Like, I was a huge fan of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
And my friends had started doing improv at my high school, and I was like, I can do that. So I took over and eventually became like the person who ran the meetings, because I was the only person who even close to had my shit together. But for me, like, it's always come from a performing place, because one thing I've learned about myself over the years is I can't plan anything in advance unless I'm like in some way contractually obligated to. So, which is why Tom does all the work for this.
That's how I got her. She's like, you've got me booked if you schedule it.
I just ride his coattails and turn my computer on at 8:20 p.m. But yeah, so like, I mean, I don't think I've ever completely written a script all the way through, unless you count like a stand-up story, because even my stand-up is partly improvised, because that's just kind of the way my brain works. Like, I can't force myself to focus on anything, so winging it has been a very big part of my entire life.
Well, like, and that's not even like, I feel like you're saying it a little bit with a not a self-deprecating tone, but like, also give yourself credit. I mean, like, that's improv is like, that's basically the way that Second City teaches it, is like as a process to the writing. So it's legit. Improv's cool, despite what pop culture says. I
mean, improv is inherently not cool, but it's like
not.
I'm good at performing.
Anybody who does improv, I'm very impressed by. I've never really had I did it once auditioning for my school's improv team. That was the only time I've ever done it. It was like, it went fine. I did not make the improv team.
Yeah, well, here's my problem with improv auditions. It's like, hey, we're looking for someone who is like really funny, chill, like have a good time with them, but we want you to be the most fun and the most chill out of everybody else you're in the room with. Like, putting it in that weird competitive environment is like,
it was a weird vibe in the room.
A contradiction.
Yeah.
I think. But I'm going to switch gears just a little bit, although we'll be switching back to writing process stuff, I'm sure. But in investigating you and coming upon your website, can you go a little bit into the screenplay that you wrote, Normal Underwhelming Love? Because I wanted to know what that project was about, and I tried like clicking the download link to find it.
Not work?
It was like, no.
Oh, damn
it!
It
was like, your Dropbox file's dead. Get out of here.
Oh, man. I have this script linked to like a Dropbox, and I think I ran out of room in my Dropbox, so I have the free version.
But yeah, it looks like it had gotten like it was a finalist for some sort of award.
Yeah, classes I had to take for school in the spring was writing the short film, which is very self-explanatory. It's a class where you write a short film, and you learn how to do it. And my final the final project was just like a 5, or maybe it was like at least a 3 to like 10 page script, in the hopes that you would shoot it for a class called narrative film, which is where you shoot the film you wrote and writing the short film. That's like how the curriculum works. So I wrote that, and it was this a mockumentary about this guy who like is like really lonely, and like he's making a mockumentary of himself because he's like convinced he's going to be like a really like underwhelming relationships, or like old people who aren't having sex anymore, and
I don't know why.
and then like it has this ending. I'll say the ending. Nobody's gonna read it.
They can't.
Like, the whole point is like he's really stubborn. Like it's clear that like he's wasting his time. He's like in his 30s. Like just like he's rude to other people. And then like he bumps into a girl in his hallway in his apartment, and she's like dressed just like him, looks just like him. And like, you know, you think like, oh, he's gonna finally, you know, and it like contradicts his whole theory. Like he meets the girl of his dreams, love at first sight. And then he like is totally like rude to her, and then like just like leaves. And then the documentary ends where he's like, I'm gonna make it big, baby. And so I explained it so poorly. I gotta put it on my website. But yeah, so I was just like, why don't I like put in a couple like short script festivals? Because like, why not like save up like $50 for like some entry fees? And like I rewrote, like I didn't look at it for a while, and then I rewrote it, sent it to some friends and got some feedback, and I put it in some festival, the name of which I don't remember. And
but it's on the website because
yeah,
I saw.
I'm like, let me bring it up.
like something just for shorts, maybe. But yeah,
Some festival, yeah.
they accepted it, and like I think like there's like a couple, like you can get accepted, and then like if you make it to the next one, you're a finalist, and that's what that was. And then if you make it to the next round, then it's like really good. So like mine was like okay, I guess. You know, I like writing script, like I like writing sketches more than anything else in terms of like stuff like screenplay stuff. I like writing sketches. But I don't know, like I think films are cool and TV's cool, and I really want to write a pilot, and that's a goal for the next 6 months. Like I really want to write a script, just to, like have it. So yeah, I don't know. It's like it's so hard. There's so many things I could be. Oh, do I do stand-up? Do I write some sketches? Do I write? I don't know. I'm just kind of like doing a bunch of stuff and seeing what sticks. But yeah, that's what that script was all about.
Cool. All right. Well, I am actually gonna throw it to Roz for the next question now, because I seem to be getting thrown off on a whole bunch of tangents, and we still have more than half the.
So wait, we're on question number 5, Tom.
Yeah, we're on number 5. It's hard to keep track because I've like inserted like questions to A, B, and C like on the fly as we've been talking. But yeah.
Okay.
What page are we on?
In other fields, specifically art, fashion, and entertainment, young voices tend to be valued and their perspective appreciated. We view you as young and want to kill you and absorb your power. Yes. But as a junior in college, do you think that the comedy scene's been kind of more welcoming to younger voices, or what has your experience been with that?
No, I don't know. I think so. I did I'm trying to think of the live stand-up I did. So after that class, it was the summer right after that, and I went back home, and I didn't do stand-up that whole summer. And then when I went back in the fall, I think in between that fall when the pandemic hit, I did maybe like 10 open mics, not even. And in my experience at those live mics, I think that people were like in Philly, like I was super intimidated because I was 19. You know, like I'm only a year older, but like, I don't know, teenager, like I was a teenager. And so I was very intimidated because everyone there was older than me, and I had to use like a fake ID just to do stand-up.
That's the nerdiest reason to use a fake ID, other than maybe voting.
You have to be 21 years old to laugh.
I went to this bar, like I rode my dinky little bike, like like from my campus to downtown in the cold, and the bouncer was like giving me a hard time. And he was like, "You're not from Illinois," and I was like, "Just fucking come on! I don't want to drink. I just want to tell some jokes, please." But I think that
Sorry, it's just hitting my funny bone.
the people were really nice. Like really, I remember. I'm trying to think of instances that jutted out to me. I remember I did this open mic at a bar, and like downtown Philly, and it was the night of an Eagles game, and the Eagles lost that game, and it was a rare instance where there was a crowd at the open mic. Like I think people were in the bottom half of the bar watching the Eagles game. The top half was like where the stage was, and the game ended, and some Eagles fans came up to watch. And I remember my set going like fine. Like I didn't do great, but like I had like one or two jokes that landed. But I remember there's this guy in the audience who was like decked out in Eagles gear, and like he really intimidated me for some reason. Like he was like grizzled and like drunk, and I was like, oh god, like this guy's gonna be mean to me. And then like when I was done my set, he like looked at me and like kind of winked. He was like, "Nice job, kid." And I was like, "Oh, cool." But that's not other comedians. Like the other comedians I've met in Philly have been really kind to me. Like there's this one club, it run out of like a basement in an apartment in North Philly off Temple University's campus called The Cave. And it's like a scary place to do stand up. Like I said, in a weird basement in a not good neighborhood. But I remember, I did, the open mic, and I didn't do that well. But the guy who like helped run it was like, "Hey, nice to meet you. If you want to, like I know you got up really late, but if you want to get up early on the mic, just keep coming and we'll get you on earlier." And I was like, oh, "Okay, people aren't mean." So that was really nice. And I still don't like know anyone in the Philly scene, with the exception of someone who runs a Zoom mic, Stephanie Parker. She has an open mic Monday nights. Illities. It's a very fun room. She's super nice, but she's Philly based. But I don't know anyone else in the Philly area because then the pandemic hit. But the short time I was there, people were nice, and I'm really excited for things to open back up because I feel like I'll be able to like make friends in that community, and I do feel welcome. Like I'm encouraged to like go back and meet those people. So,
okay, cool. Like kind of as a follow up to that, like. I think one of the cooler things about younger people getting involved in the comedy scene is that it kind of forces like evolution. So like, I mean, I know like, for example, one thing with Gen Z, I noticed a lot is like short format, like indie, low to no budget skits you film by yourself at home, like seem to take off.
Yeah, they made
So,
TikTok.
like TikTok. So I was just wondering, like, where do you see like the scene evolving to next?
That's a good question. Well, I think like live, like, just like straight up like stand-up comedy, guy, girl, whoever on stage telling jokes. Like I think that's always going to be around because like there's no beating that. But I don't know. Like I think there's definitely more of an appetite by younger people for like variety, kind of like sketchy, like weird stuff. Like my generation has like a very bizarre sense of humor. Like my grandfather's generation, like, they thought like Rodney Dangerfield was hilarious, and he still is, but like, like he's like his jokes like make sense. They're like based in reality.
You say that like a bad thing.
All my jokes to make sense. Fuck that.
He's always like, "Yeah, my wife," But,
yeah.
But I think I think my, like a surreal, like weird stuff that's not necessarily based in reality. I'm trying to think of a comedian that I like who does that kind of stuff. James Acaster's this like British comedian, and he has this like 4-part special on Netflix that's super funny. And his jokes, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but he just like tells stories that like very clearly did not happen. And they don't make any sense at all. But I see like that's something I think my generation likes. And more than anything, I'm going to go on another tangent here. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's fine.
Like I think the hour special, I think is going away a little bit. Like I think like social media has like engineered our brains to like have really short attention spans. Like it's tough to watch something for an hour straight. And I think like shorter, like 15-minute specials, like half-hour specials, like Andrew Schultz is like a New York comedian who has like a pretty big YouTube channel where he posts his stuff, and he put out like, you know, a 15-minute special that was like super tight and well produced, and it was very like digestible. Or he'll put out like a 5-minute set of like clips together. Like I think it's gonna be like really clippy and like shorter, more like digestible stuff. And I don't think the hour special will go away, but like I just don't think people my age like have the patience for that kind of thing anymore. So
Yeah.
We
I'm
don't
not-
have time for that. We're all dying. Ugh,
Okay.
cool.
Well, so Tom, did you highlight this for me? Because
Oh no, I was highlighting that because we kind of answered it already earlier. So that was highlighted because I commented. I think we already answered this question earlier. The question, if you were curious, Chris, was how your education in film and television influenced your comedy style. It sounds like it was a little bit the other way around, where you did stand up and then were like, this is cool, and then pursued film and television, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it kind of worked in that direction more than anything.
Okay, but kind of talking about the film and television stuff anyway. What was your experience with producing your own videos? Because again, referring back to a previous episode we had, we talked to Winston and kind of a little bit about the process of what he had to do to make his own comedy special. And since
Yeah.
that's your major and you have some sketches on your YouTube channel, right?
Yes.
So what was the production experience, right? What was the experience there, and what did you find particularly challenging?
Yeah, so I like production is like so hard and so scary. Like a lot of my classmates like want to be like grips or you know, ACs or like camera people or boom ops, and like that stuff is so hard. You know, like I went into film late, and I only had 2 in-person semesters of film before the pandemic hit, so I haven't had like a lot of hands-on experience. Like any sketch I made, it's just like quick, grab a phone. I'm gonna try to make something. One time, my friend and I like wrote this sketch that we really liked, and like we really were like, okay, we're gonna write a really good sketch. We're gonna rent out a camera from the school's equipment room. We're gonna like make a really solid sketch, put it on our portfolio. And then I loved it. I still like the sketch we wrote. I think it was really funny. And like when we tried to shoot it like really well, like lights, and like it was a disaster. Like I mean, it got made, but like it just like wasn't very good.
At what cost?
I know, and like we spent like a whole day, and it was like a prop heavy. Like the gag was like just really large objects were involved. And like we had to like lug like big things like throughout like campus, and you know we realized like we needed an extra hand for the boom mic, and like it was just like a lot of like production is like all like problem solving, and it's something I want to get better at because like I want to be able to make my own stuff, but like I like writing and I like editing and I like performing because you don't have to, you know, like do anything but stand there. But like production like really scares me. Like I've been trying to like get experience like on like a set for like film or television for like my resume and whatever.
Oh yeah, the internship.
Oh yeah, I can talk about that if you like. So
Well, that's related, right? It's a production type internship. Correct?
kind of. I'll get into it. I'll explain.
Okay. Go on.
So yeah, it's a remote internship. I was supposed to do this like my program has like an LA program where you get to like go to LA for like 3 months and work. Like you have a job and then you also take classes there. But that
my school did that too. Emerson did that.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And I was all geared up to go, and then that was this past summer, and it got canceled, of course, which is a bummer. And the job I got hired for that was supposed to be in person in Los Angeles, but I've been doing it remotely for like 6 or 7 months. And it is Barry Katz Entertainment, which is like just like a small like production company kind of by Barry Katz. And he's like a really like, so I didn't know this applying, like I didn't really know who he was. All I saw was like internship, somewhat kind of related to comedy. I was like, I guess I'll apply. And I applied to like 30 internships, and like this was the only one that got back to me. So I just said yes. And it turned out to be like the coolest opportunity. Like it's so great. Like he I don't want to like name drop and like be like annoying. But my boss, he started and ran the Boston Comedy Club in New York, which was kind of like, there was like the Cellar, and then there was like Boston Comedy Club. And like Boston Comedy Club was where like, so he managed like Dave Chappelle when he was really young, and like Bill Burr when he was really young, and like Louis C.K. And like he ran the club where like all those guys like came up. And he like managed Tracy Morgan, like all these really cool people. And like I didn't know that until I applied. He was like, by the way, like I am friends with all of your heroes. And I was like, what? Like, who are you?
Did you know that I was the shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a really nice guy, and he does like some producing stuff, and he like manages some community. He managed like Brad Williams. I don't know, and I think he managed Melissa Villasenor for some time, who's on SNL. But I do like I edit some stuff for him. Sometimes he has me read scripts, do like script coverage, and like I send him like my feedback on like someone will send him a script, and then I read it, and then I give him the notes on it. And sometimes I do like busy work and stuff that's not so fun. But he does give me the opportunity to like, really like learn and get my hands dirty and do cool stuff. And he's like been willing to like, I'll send him some of my stand-up and he'll give me feedback. And he's like likes to talk to me. Like he's always like, hey, you want to like ask me questions? Because I don't know, he's not like a known person, but like he's like I guess known in like the business side of the comedy industry. And he's been very nice, just like putting me in touch with people and like being really kind. And that's been really good, just like learning about comedy internship than necessarily like production or like the technical stuff, I guess. So yeah, Barry Katz.
That sounds awesome. That sounds like a really cool opportunity. And you'll
cool.
probably learn a lot of unsaid stuff from him that you wouldn't learn from like other comics.
Yeah, I don't know, he talks like, he doesn't give me like specific, like you need to tell jokes about this, but he's just like, just general, like
do more Kanye zest.
More lemons.
He actually saw that and he was like, maybe don't do that.
Oh,
These days aren't into the citrus.
Yeah,
you don't understand. The kids love lemons. All right, you don't get it. No, he's definitely like been really cool. He's been encouraging. Like I'm very anxious, like always, and I'm also like a really bad like imposter complex, and I'm very hard on myself. So it's nice to have like like an adult figure be encouraging. It's very nice to have that. So
cool. We got like 6 minutes left and 3 questions, so we're gonna try and get through all.
I talk so much. I'm sorry.
You're good. You still have like a good 2 minutes per question. Huh?
I don't think we've successfully finished our question list before, so we'll see.
Oh yeah.
This next one, I really connected with on a spiritual level. I was looking at your Twitter and I saw you recently posted that you did your civic duty and you reported some voter fraud to voter fraud hotline.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know what happened.
Yeah, what did I do? So I saw a couple, like this wasn't I saw a video of this guy calling the voter fraud hotline and just like being a jackass to people. In a good way, because those people suck. But so I was like, I'm just gonna call them. And I called and they were like, hi, this is the Trump voter fraud hotline. And I was like, oh, I stink. Like I'm stinky. Like I just started screaming, like so bizarre. But like I started and I was like, hi, I'd like to report voter fraud. Like I saw this guy walking out of the whatever. And then I like flipped it on a dime. And then the lady was like, thank you very much. Have a good day. And then she hung up on me. Like you can call them. I don't know if their number's still up, but you can just like call that number and someone will answer. It's incredible.
Oh yeah, it brought back my days as a congressional intern, where days during the Affordable Care Act debate, And someone called me once. They were like, yeah, I think everything about the Affordable Care Act is a really good idea, and we should give everyone free healthcare. The government should pay for it. And then just like this really long pause, and he goes, not! And then he hung up. I was just like, okay. And you have to log all the calls. So I had to enter it into their database, and like I had to like summarize it and give it a label and put it in a folder.
That's
like
so funny.
So dumb.
I think everybody should be happy, healthy, and safe. Not.
And then just like having to type in waited a full beat, and then as if in a 90s sitcom.
Had impeccable comedic timing. So I was wondering, okay, so you're in college in the middle of a pandemic. Has that really affected your creative process at all? I think it's been really fucking with everybody's process, I think.
It's been weird. So like online classes suck. And I took them in the spring, and I took classes over the summer because my Drexel is like on a weird quarter system. So sometimes you're in class over the summer. So I was supposed to be in class this fall actually, but I took a leave of absence. So I was like, I'm not taking the classes this quarter. I'm going to graduate like a little bit, like a few months later. But I was just like, I don't want another online quarter. So like, it's given me like the time actually like write a lot and do stand up. Because like I did not do Zoom comedy like from, I think I didn't, my last open mic I did was like December 10th, 2020. And then I didn't do it at all until like September 19th, 20th. And I mean, if it wasn't for like not being in class, I don't think I would have the time to like write as much as I have. So it's been good for that reason. Like, it's just been like, I've been capable of like actually doing it, which is good.
Yeah.
But online school is the worst thing ever.
Yeah. I'm online working right now, so I sympathize.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like you get nothing done all day and take a lot of naps.
Yeah, it's like another Zoom. Can we just like stop doing work? I don't know. It's the worst.
Yeah. It is great because you can text shit about your professor or your boss to your friends while they're talking. So like my coworker and I have this like really long thread. But I digress. Okay, so our final question, which we have time for tonight.
Yes, we do.
What are you working on right now that you're very excited for? Like, what should we be expecting in the coming months, years?
You're young and have your whole life ahead of you. So
I know.
What's coming up?
I'm trying to think if I have anything in particular I want to share.
You at least have the open mic, right?
Yes. Yeah. So I run an open mic, 11:30 p.m. Eastern. I might change the time because that's the latest. On Sundays, so you should come to that. I mean, I don't know. I want to keep making like videos. I'm taking a class where I have to make a short film this next semester. So like that'll be somewhere eventually. To get a good grade, I will have a short film made in 3 months. So that'll be out. I mean, I tweet a lot on Twitter at Chris Aileo. And I'm just going to keep doing stand up, and I'm going to try to get better at it. And, if I get booked on a show and the tickets are like $3, maybe come watch because it might be funny. So,
yeah.
Cool.
You saw it here first, folks.
Yes.
Awesome.
Aileo does things sometimes.
Also, speaking of which, that Twitter, is that the same as your Instagram where it has the underscore, or is it all one word?
Twitter's all one word, and Instagram has the underscore. I have an Instagram account that's at Chris Aileo, and I got logged out of it when I was in like the 7th grade, and I can't get rid of it. And there are weird pictures on there. It makes me really upset that people might be able to see that.
Our friend just had something similar happen with her Facebook account. Now there's just 2 of them. Because that's, I guess, simpler.
Which one do you tag? You don't know.
Yeah.
Both of them. All right. Well, that being said, that transitions greatly into our outro. So thank you everybody for watching episode 4 of Laughing into the Void. And of course, thank you to Ross for co-hosting with me. And thanks again to Chris. Thank you. Thanks again to Chris for being a great guest. And again, you can follow him at Chris_Aileo on Instagram, Chris Aileo, all one word, on Twitter. And you can watch our previous broadcasts on the District Comedy YouTube and Facebook channels, or listen to them on Spotify. Don't forget to donate if you enjoyed the stream. Drop a little donation. Again, we're doing the 2020 end of year campaign for Cinetic Theater. So yeah, do that if you like art. And on that note, I mentioned this in the post right before this show, but sorry, cats. There's a cat on screen for those listening to the podcast. But yes, we have a special announcement. Very excited to tell you all that we are doing an exciting special bonus episode of Laughing Into the Void, which will be taking place on Monday at 8:30. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and remember to tune in. We'll be interviewing Cinetic Theater's company director, Catherine Dubois. And I'm really excited about this one because I actually have met them in real life, which is the first thing I can say about our interview guests, except Brooks, I guess. And they're also the first non-comedian that we've had on the show. So kind of getting a production and clowning and performer side to it too. So yeah, definitely watch on Monday at 8:30. And again, it's a bonus episode, so please also tune in, because we're still gonna do our episode on Wednesday, and that will also be great because we're gonna have Ralph Anthony, and he's a funny guy. So yeah, that's it. Transition out. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.